Hi, my name is Kelly Conwisher, and I'm glad you're here to 90 Day Goal together with me. This is the end of week 12. It's a rest day. For me, it's really not a great golf day, so not sure I'm going to get out there. But there are lots of other things I enjoy doing for rest: reading, taking a nap, being a few of those things. So I hope that you're getting some rest, that either today or tomorrow you're doing your weekly reflection guide, practicing that keystone habit. And maybe you're drawing on one of the spiritual traditions that we've visited this week as we look at streams of living water. Where are you getting fuel for the journey? And now for this last few days of your 90-day goal. So maybe there are a couple of these streams that we have visited so far in which you are very comfortable, but maybe those streams are tapped out and you're looking for new ways to connect with the Lord, to get the energy to live on design. And so I hope this is helpful for you as we look at Richard Foster's book, classic Streams of Living Water, the six core characteristics of Jesus, and the spiritual life from the history of the church. And the sixth one we're looking at today here is the sacramental tradition, or the incarnational tradition, which is a beautiful look at how the world of the divine and the world of the created order is not separated by a firm barrier. It is not one over here and over here, but rather God infuses the created order with his presence, and that there are ways in which we as disciples can engage in practices and in ways of living that see God's presence in the creation and in those things around us. We practice sacraments of baptism and the Lord's Supper. In our churches, we do that slightly differently, but essentially, regardless of our traditions, the idea of sacraments is that we are using ordinary things, water, bread, wine or grape juice, to connect with the spiritual reality that they coincide with, and the cleansing, the sacrifice, the connection with God in those sacraments. But the sacramental tradition also includes acts of mercy, like anointing with oil. We practice different types of things which are tangible or tactical, such as putting ashes on our foreheads at Ash Wednesday. And we don't think of any of these things as somehow magical or things like that, but rather the recognitions that the things of this created order are infused with God's presence, and that they represent and bring to us some of that great kind of awareness of God's work in our bodies, in our space around us, and how the sacramental tradition really grounds us in that it's not about leaving our bodies or getting away from this world, but actually that God's presence is everywhere in it, and that ultimately he will heal it. There's the beauty of the incarnation, of God choosing to become human, to take on flesh in order to demonstrate his love for this created order, but also to live into this fusion of his spirit to us as his created beings. So the sacramental tradition is one in which we are made more aware of the things of the created order. In the ancient church, this Origen was probably one of the early writers, followers of Jesus, that really talked deeply about the sacramental nature of our lives. When we think about the ways in which our bodies and our marriages and our families and our lives bring about the reign of God, we're participating in that all together by infusing or seeing the infusion of God's love in our world. A couple other ones that you may or may not know of. I had to read John Milton's great poems of Paradise Lost in the 11th grade, 12th grade. But both John Milton and Dante, who wrote, of course, the Inferno, are both people that wrote very deeply about this infusion of God's grace in our material order, and how we can become more aware of that. I just remember those being hard to read, but beautiful. nevertheless, because they're a little different. But one of the ones I loved to read and still love to read is Flannery O'Connor. You may also love her short stories. She's another person in that author space who has done a lot of work in this sacramental space to bring about an awareness of how God is infused and present in all that we do. So in the very fabric of our world, in the very fabric of our beings, rooting us in our everyday lives into the presence of God is the sacramental tradition that is all about encountering the invisible God in our visible world every single day, and really thinking about the fusion of the relationship of that physical reality to the spiritual reality, all rooted in God's love. So that's the sacramental life. So that's the sixth and final of our streams of living water. I hope that you've enjoyed this week as you think about ways in which to tap into God's deep well of love, to get the fuel that you need for the last few days we have coming up to crush our 90-day goal together. So get some great rest. Practice your weekly reflection, and I will see you tomorrow as we kick off the 13th and final week of our 90-day goal together. And I'd love to hear how you're doing, or if one of these 6 spiritual traditions has ignited something new in you, or you're discovering something new. I would love to hear about it. Kelly at futurechurch.co, and enjoy your rest day.